Hello and welcome to Straight Dude Date Night, a show where two straight dudes go on a date and they review it. My name is David Stallings and I am one of these straight dudes.
And I'm Ricky, the other.
Great start. Today we have quite the special episode, quite the special review and date that we had today. But first, before we get into it, we will start by introducing our special superfan movie expert, Colton Wood. Colton, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take
I'll
a seat.
stand. It's cool.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right, Colton. Did you enjoy the movie?
No.
Okay, great. We're off to a great start. Yes, today was wild.
I lost a bet.
Ricky did lose a bet.
I'm a gambling man and I lost a bet.
All right, I'll go into this real quick. You guys can jump in if I get anything wrong with this. We've mentioned this before on the show that something happened leading up to this movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. That's what we saw. Ricky had the great idea that us three were going to have a bet about it. Don't know why. It came up and we deliberated for an hour and a half about what it would be. And the bet was we would just simply force Colton, super fan movie expert Colton, to come see the longest movie ever made, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well, we started the bet because we talked about this movie and how excited we were.
I was very excited.
And then I had mentioned that it's a book.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I'm going to read that book probably. And I was like, you know what? I'll read the book too. And then Colton looked at me and went, you're not going to read that book. And I took personal offense to that. So I said, I bet you I read that book. And he said, I know you're not going to do it. So then I said, you know what? You're going to watch the movie with us. I'm going to read that book. And when I do, you're going to get drunk on the podcast and drink a bunch of beers beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to record with us.
Oh, yeah. There was the chance if we both did it that he might drink. Yeah.
But I said, if one of us doesn't, then I'll drink the beers. And I didn't read the book because the book is boring.
I read the whole thing for this bet.
I was right.
Colton,
he was right.
You were spot on.
I was right.
I want to admit to you now, I was wrong. You were right. Thank you for knowing me better than myself. This is why we've been friends for a very, very, very long time.
Yep.
Ricky texts me
20-something years now, probably.
25.
Mm-hmm. Ricky actually tried to start the book before me and texted me. Yeah. He got like 2 chapters in and was like, bro, this is the most boring book I've ever read.
I started in August. And then after 2 weeks of reading it, I went, I'm not going to finish this.
I can't do it.
I'm not finishing this book. I knew immediately I wasn't gonna because it was way too long and it was way too boring. And for people who like the book, good for you. I'm not a reader.
Yeah.
Personally.
No, you said you read the first chapter and I was like, good for Ricky. You know?
He's actually doing it.
Yeah, he's doing it. I don't mind.
Here I am.
I don't mind drinking a few beers. I'm drinking one in solidarity right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't last. And I'm disappointed in you.
Look, I don't drink much, so I'm going to be very useless on this episode. I just want to get that out there now and take it away, gents.
Okay.
No, it's great. It's great.
Well, do we want to get into the movie itself first or the experience? Because that's a different conversation.
I probably need to give synopsis about the movie just in case we start going into it. I do want to say, because of this bet, where I was so unsure about if I could potentially be forced into drinking, which I wanted that to be a 0% chance.
Yeah, Dave don't drink.
I did read the entire book, and it took me 3 days to read the whole thing, because I fell in love with it.
Good for you,
How many pages?
David.
How many pages? It's about 315, I think.
Oh, God.
It's not that bad.
The thing is
We were reading that in like 4th grade.
Ricky is right, though, that the beginning of it is a lot of, like, genealogy and just,
It's like the Bible.
It's literally the book of Genesis from the Bible.
It's just culture.
Nice.
It's culture stuff so that you actually understand what's going on, because there's a lot going on.
Yes.
The whole headright system and everything and guardianship, they go in depth because it's a crucial element of this whole story. And it's like, yeah, if you're not into that, the book is a lot of politics behind it too.
Yeah.
Which I love reading that kind of stuff because I'm a weirdo. So I loved this book, and then I became even more excited for this movie. I have never done that before, of like read the book before the movie. 0 times have I done that.
Yeah, didn't do it with Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit.
Nope.
Did you read either of those?
I read Fellowship of the Ring in 8th grade, I think.
I recall that, yeah.
And that was not a fun time.
No?
No, I remember the book being huge.
Oh, bro, no, those are long books.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a different story.
And that's just, as much as I love fantasy and like stuff like D&D and everything, books about it, don't like it.
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Those books are huge.
Yeah.
Those movies are great though.
Oh, they're great. The books, if I did enjoy the books, then maybe I'd enjoy the movies even more. But I don't know. That just wasn't for me.
See, I don't have that big of an imagination to read the book, so it's hard for me to paint a picture. This is why I do a movie podcast, because I love visually understanding what's going on.
Pictures painted for you.
Yeah, but reading it, I have such a hard time piecing things together in my mind.
Yeah.
I've always had this issue.
It can be a struggle sometimes with it, especially if there's a hint that you might not understand fully what's going on in the book. Then you're like, even if you are trying to imagine it, there's a whole element of it that's like getting warped because you don't know what's going on now, and that's happened to me multiple times as well. Yeah, but they gotta hook me early for me to go through it.
There are a few like book series / movies that I've read. I think I've read the Hunger Games books, the Harry Potter books, and Wolf of Wall Street. I think that's it.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
You read all of those?
Yeah, those are all the books like to movies that I've read. But those were also at a younger time. The Hunger Games one was probably to impress some girl. The Harry Potter ones was to impress my now wife.
Smart.
Wolf of Wall Street was just genuinely because that's my favorite movie. So
Yeah.
that one was. But that's a great book because that book is written exactly like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the get go, it's just cussing and debauchery, and you're like, wow, this is the same thing.
I don't think that's the order they did it in.
What?
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 Wolf of Wall Street?
What?
Huh?
So what's this movie?
I'm confused.
All right, I'm gonna go into this movie again. There's like major spoilers I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna give a quick synopsis of this one. God, I can't get over that Ricky and I look exactly the same right now.
Look at us, huh?
Yeah, we definitely.
Unplanned.
Yeah,
Look at the twins,
totally
the
great.
bros, the
Yep.
Chads
and
on
I
the
love.
couch.
Bro,
Somebody called us Chads one time in the comments, and I thought to myself, "Wow,
that is
impressive."
Scary.
Well, they called me a washed up Chad. That's what they
can
said.
see that.
And I was all right, cool.
That's
At
actually
least I'm
not bad.
I'm a
Because
Chad.
Washed up Chad, I would actually be more respectful of.
He's also 40. As the oldest one in the room, he's 40.
Well, yeah. I mean, I missed the memo on the dressing up. I did get the black shirt right though.
Go get some khakis on. There's probably some somewhere.
I'll ask Brandon.
I got khaki pants. We could have you go put on real quick if you want.
No.
Look,
No,
we got.
I'll put them on, and you can put on my khaki shorts I'm wearing right now.
I got the sunglasses on. Don't worry about that. It's bright in here.
It's not
Otherwise,
that
I'll
bright.
just be looking dumb.
The sun is in here.
It's not that bright.
Let me give the synopsis. So Killers of the Flower Moon is the longest movie ever created. It is about a real life story that is horrifying that happened in the 20s in Oklahoma against the Osage Native American tribe that inherited land that was extremely wealthy and had a ton of oil, and every Native American who owned any oil became extremely rich. Meanwhile, there's a lot of folks coming into town wanting a part of that oil and that money, and so they would find ways to either integrate themselves into those Native American families and then either slowly poison or just straight up shoot them in order to inherit the head rights and get the money. That's the whole story, and basically Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro are the two men spearheading this entire process against Leonardo DiCaprio's own wife. Horrifying story, and that's basically it. That's what this whole thing's
Not his
about.
real wife. Real wife. It's a movie wife.
The movie wife. In case you didn't know what I was talking, the movie wife.
Little correction, David.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's not murdering the family of his own wife in real life.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a true story, right?
Whole thing.
Yeah.
And-
So that part of it, I don't think is very much stressed in the movie, but the book it is for sure stressed.
Yes, and I was actually reading the book. It was very cool to have seen the trailer, then to read the book, then to see the movie. Because while I was reading the book, I was putting pieces of the trailer together and actually understanding the movie beforehand, which was really fun. The book, though, is built as a whodunit.
Yeah.
And the movie is not.
Yes.
And I think that, for me, was the most disappointing part. But if it was a whodunit, it would have made Tom White, the FBI agent, Jesse Plemons, who's Todd from Breaking Bad.
Yes.
It would have made him the main character if they did it as a whodunit. Because that man in real life went through an insane process to uncover the truth about these killings.
So is he the main character of the books?
Yes, in a way. Okay. They focus on, once he gets introduced and this whole situation gets elevated to DC and to the FBI, he does become the spearhead behind this. With insane pressure from J. Edgar Hoover. That's his name, I think.
Yes.
Go on. This is the bet. Keep going. Don't look at me like you're trying to hide it. Do it.
Some ASMR right there. Hope that came through.
Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah. You guys are fine.
My koozie.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom White would have been the main character then. In the book, he definitely is. Because
Interesting.
Yeah. Uncovering this. It's like, in real life, it was like 3 years after the 2 original shootings of Anna and Charlie Whitehorn. It took like 3 years for the FBI to get involved.
Yeah, and you can see that in the movie as their kids, the main character's kids grow older.
Yeah.
You can see the passage of time. So that is interesting.
That's the only way that, because they didn't like even show what year this was all taking place.
Nope. No, they said it. There was a vague mention at the end of the movie that was like 1921.
Mm-hmm.
37.
So. Well, that's when Molly died.
Yeah.
1921 is when Ernest, Leonardo DiCaprio, marries Molly. I'm pretty sure.
That's like I told you. It's 20, 30 somewhere in there.
Yeah, you got it.
The book of Genesis, aka the first 5 chapters of this book, go over that.
Cool.
Well, that was the thing about the book that I loved, was so many characters got introduced. You learned about all of them in the first few chapters, and then the rest of it, you're like, okay, one of these people that got introduced is killing everyone. Yeah. Who is it? I don't know.
See, one thing I loved in the book, though, that they did do in the movie, one thing I do remember from the book is how they described Anna's body. In that whole situation, and they nailed that like to a T.
When she's dead and like completely defiled and everything.
And they describe all of that in the book, and I was like, "There's no way they do that in the movie." And then they did, and I was like, "Oh,
they did."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the book, they literally talk about that all.
I get the book. The only mention of that in the movie was at the end when they were questioned, right, by the FBI.
No, well, they showed them like sawing her.
They
head
were
open.
sawing her head.
Yeah, but then later, the FBI was like, "Oh, you chopped her into tiny pieces."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's, dude, every single main person involved with this group, every white man that was there in the town was involved with this. Those doctors, they were never charged with anything. It's extremely likely that they were helping to poison all of the Native Americans, which is why they were helping to, they carved up her body and, quote, never found the bullet. Like, originally, and a part that they cut from the movie, I'm gonna be that guy this whole episode, man, was that it wasn't one private investigator that came to the town. Like, Molly was not the only person who hired the private investigator. When these murders started happening, it was like 50 that showed up, and the majority of them were hired by Robert De Niro, Hale.
Yeah.
And all of them were finding their own leads. They all inspected Anna's body individually. They all were bought, though.
Hale, who is like the godfather of the town.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the crime lord.
Yeah. King of the Osage Hills. That was his actual title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of was a man of the people, but in reality, he was pulling the strings the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, who here, when you see the 3.5 hour runtime, what is that? What do you think? What do you think going into the theater? What do you think? Anger?
I forget. I try to not think about it. But man, I looked at I don't ever do this. You're normally the one that looks at your watch during movies.
Mm-hmm. I'm that guy.
Was looking at my watch constantly like, oh my goodness. But that also was a factor too, that this is the worst theater experience I've ever had.
So that's where we're going now?
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about that.
I could not focus on the movie because of how bad the theater experience was. There was people talking, walking around, just yelling, smoking in the theater.
I'd like to hear Colton's perspective from this, because Colton, you were sitting directly next to the loudest person of doing this. So
Yeah.
what was that for you?
It didn't bother me as much as Ricky, because Ricky has a tendency to get more distracted by things. So I was still able to follow.
What did you say? No, I'm just kidding.
That was a good one. That was a good.
So funny.
That was so funny.
Thank you.
If I had a free
so-
hand, I would
Go ahead and
offer you.
drink.
Yeah, go ahead and take a drink.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
So I was still able to follow the plot line, but it was perturbing to have people constantly yelling during the
He
movie.
calls us snobs and he says perturbing.
All right.
I appreciate
I didn't
the
come here
word.
to get slandered.
No, that's
right?
gonna be the episode.
Also, I don't call you a snob. All right.
He calls me a snob.
David is the movie snob.
I'm the snob.
And he admits it.
Look,
You're a little bit of a snob.
Look, the internet has also called me a snob.
Okay,
I
so
have
am
been
I wrong?
called
I don't
a
know.
lot of things since we started really marketing the podcast. The past few months, I've been called a lot of things, which has
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a
No,
snob.
David's the movie snob. Not the biggest movie snob, but of this group of individuals, movie snob, bad take machine.
The fat
That's just
guy.
the truth it is.
Fat guy slash bad take guy.
No, he's a bad
That's
take
it.
machine.
No, my takes are usually fair. They come across fair. I have some pretty wild takes. I think I'm like one-off wild takes.
Okay, so
No.
anyway, the dude and his group of people were sitting in our seats when we first got there because there was assigned seats or whatever.
The experience started
AMC.
off bad immediately.
Yeah.
AMC, you pay for your seat. I paid for their, like, we brought people with us, Colton being one of them, and paid for the seats. We just want our seats. That's all. I get it that you want to just sit where you want, but we paid for our seats. Let us have our seats.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of a stupid thing to
It is,
be
yeah.
upset
Childish.
about someone saying, "Hey, you're sitting in my seat," because it's like, yeah, bro, you are sitting on the seat.
Yeah.
Just go one row behind. But whatever, it's not a big deal. They were upset about it. It's cool.
Bro, we don't want to be separated. It's like, bro, we bought these tickets, though.
We bought it.
You snuck into the theater.
Yeah.
I respect it. I don't care.
I understand
just move somewhere else.
I understand that us four gentlemen walking in, we did show up right as the previews ended. 20 minutes have gone by in the
Calculated.
theater. Yeah, we know what we're doing.
we paid for our tickets, though.
So perhaps you thought, there's a whole row here. No one's sitting there. So we'll just
Right.
jump in. And then as the movie started, hey, this is my seat.
Okay. Yeah.
One of them wanted me to show him my ID and then didn't.
Hilarious.
And then got up before I could say anything and then called me a very mean word.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even realize until I sat down. I was like, am I going to get in a fight?
I just sat there. I just sat next to the dude, and I just sat there, and I said, this guy's dumb.
So anyway, the dude I was sitting next to at the beginning of the movie was like, "Hey, yo, that's my tribe," because the movie involves Native Americans,
That was cool.
Osage tribe, and I was like, "Yo, that's cool. I like that. Nice. Go back to watch the movie." He chimes in later to be like, "Hey, what they're saying right now is this. They're saying coyote. That word means coyote because they
That
don't
was
provide
cool.
subtitles all the time in the
Yeah.
movie." And I was like, "Nice, bro. Thanks for the insight." And then some time passes. They leave the theater multiple times to, do drugs or whatever the kids do these days.
Whatever they
were
do.
ripping. They were ripping.
Whatever
Yeah,
they
dude.
do.
Yeah. The dude was ripping a jewel the entire time, and that's when things got wacky. There's like these
These a wacky
intense,
tobacco. Definitely was not a jewel.
there's these intense like two camera scenes with interrogations and stuff, and where like the beats and the acting is very interesting.
This is the most tense moment of the movie,
Yeah.
by the way.
And the whole time, the dude's just like, "Don't say nothing to the cops.
we don't say nothing.
Snitch."
Snitches!
But the best part is that we broke these guys up who all sat together. So they
they're
were
yelling
dispersed
across the
throughout the
movie.
theater. So like two of them are in front of us. One of them's back. One of them's in the very back row. And they're all yelling in sync together like, snitches!
Yeah, bro.
Snitches, yeah, snitches! And then the guy next to us is the one spearheading it all. So the whole time he's like, And at one point, somebody behind him was like, bro, can you please stop? And he just completely ignored him.
yeah, someone went, hey, do you mind? And just did not.
Well, at that point, you're absolutely zooted. And so I recognized that, and I just didn't engage. I kept my eyes completely forward watching
Yep.
the movie, because what are you going to do?
There's
Am I
nothing
gonna
to
complain? I'm
There's
not that
nothing
guy.
we can do.
Yeah.
I mean, you could complain to the manager, but I don't care.
I don't care that
Like,
much.
Yeah.
I don't care because I'm not invested in the movie. Personally, for me,
You got uninvested because
I
of
was
everything
very
going on.
uninvested, and I was like, bro, at this point, if I go get a manager, there's 30 minutes left. It's just gonna ruin this experience for everybody. I'm not willing to ruin the experience for everybody to like make a whole scene here.
Who cares? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If
For me-
someone's gonna complain,
For me to
there's
be like,
older
I didn't like
people.
it, you know. So.
If there's older people in the theater that would complain, so I don't need to do that, and I wouldn't do that because who cares?
I was having
It's
a great
a
time.
movie. I paid $9. Like it's not a problem. These guys didn't even pay.
I also started laughing at one point. I started laughing, and then I just started watching baseball. I'll be honest.
Once the car right outside just
scary.
went by. I'm sorry. Once the snitches thing started, because it was very clear that 3 of these gentlemen walked out of the theater together. Like the guy spearheading went and gathered up these people in his posse, went out, and then came back in, and suddenly we're way louder. Once that happened, and they just start yelling, "Snitches! No one's snitching!" Yeah.
During a very serious movie, not a comedy.
All of us started laughing, and then they started laughing, and during the most intense moment of this movie, the theater is erupting in laughter, and all of us are laughing at these guys. They think we're laughing at the snitching, and
Yep.
yeah, that was a wild experience today.
Another crazy point was these guys in the theater that were just ruining our experience. Colton and I laughed because they were just all yelling, and at one point it just became comical. It was past the point of like, bro, you're ruining this, to just like, this is hilarious. I don't understand what's happening. And then the saddest part of the movie comes on where, you know, a child dies.
Yep.
And that is like, personally, that's already heartbreaking enough.
Mm-hmm.
He looks over at Colton and I and goes, "Oh, y'all ain't laughing now." And I just completely ignored it. But I was like, bro, you were asleep half the movie. Like, he was literally asleep for almost half of that movie. And then all of a sudden just started turning the trigger onto us as we were being disrespectful. And I'm over here just like, dang, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really feeling it. And then he just starts turning the trigger onto us. And I was like, I didn't even acknowledge it. Colton looked at him and just gave him a death stare. But
I
man,
looked
that
at
was
him.
wild.
I didn't change my expression. I didn't say anything. I looked back at the movie because I realized he's zooted. Like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I
And then
just
5 minutes later, they walked out.
Well-
The leader walked
Yes,
out. He walked back in and went, "All right, guys, we're out of here."
yeah.
From the front row of
Yeah,
the theater.
bro.
Hey, we're out of here. And he
Yeah,
walked
full
over to the
volume.
next
Just
guy.
like, bro, we gotta go.
We gotta get out of here,
It's
bro.
time
We
to
gotta
leave.
go.
Time to leave, guys.
And just a mental like, finally, peace.
I almost clapped.
Yeah.
I almost clapped once
did
they
almost
left.
clap.
Yeah.
I clapped.
Yep.
I clapped.
Because I can't imagine sitting through 3 hours of this movie and then giving up and being like, "Yo, guys, it's over.
Yeah,
we
I
gotta
don't
go."
think they realized how long it was.
No, I don't think they knew.
I think that's what it was, and they were like, "Bro, we gotta go eat dinner or something."
Mm-hmm.
Yo, this is too long. We gotta go.
Now, these people were not the only people. I don't even care about the movie at this point. The experience of today was just so wild because along with this was, I think many of people in the theater seemed to recognize this is going to be a long movie. If I need to get up and pee, just go do it. And so people were doing that constantly. But there was a 20-minute section where there was a 20-minute section
Oh my goodness.
where one person would get up, but what that would mean is I need to put down the recliner for some reason. So they'd hold the button down, and in this theater, it's going,
Yeah, they got the recliners at AMC.
yep.
Oh my God.
It squeaks the whole time. They get up and start leaving. Just as someone enters back in, they sit down, and they got to put the recliner up. To get back up, and just that cycle continued happening for 20 minutes straight.
And one guy, every single time he got up, which was probably 5 or 6 times during this 3-hour movie, every single time he went, "Oh, sorry, bro. Hey, sorry, man. Sorry, man. I don't mean to pass you. My bad, bro." Every time he passed by. It was just, it took me out. I stopped caring.
So
I literally was watching baseball for the last probably 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, you put on the game.
yeah, we saw
I
it.
just
Yeah.
put on the game and I was like, nobody cares in here anymore. Everybody gave up on this movie. I'm going to give up too.
And you know what? I gotta say, that's Scorsese's fault.
How so?
I don't know if it was.
How elaborate?
The theater experience for me was ruined, and I'm going to have a hard time rating
I'll let you know. All right.
Elaborate.
For you, it's different because you are ADHD, HDHD.
Mm-hmm. Colton has proven he's a Ricky expert.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
He won the bet.
This should be proof enough. You know?
Honestly, next to my wife, Colton probably knows me the best.
I mean,
And probably
Bro,
sometimes knows me better than
I
her.
would go toe to toe with your wife.
Yeah.
Honestly, because she
Your
doesn't-
wife, I say, Carissa.
She assumes the best of me, so sometimes she's
yeah.
off.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely knows me just as well, if not better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, brother. No, I know. Okay, so yeah, Scorsese. Oh brother, I mean, he comes out before the movie starts, right? Not in person. That'd be cool, but no.
No, he was in the theater. That's why this experience was so wild.
Yeah, I wish.
Scorsese came out beforehand
Yeah.
in our little rinky-dink theater we were in.
Yeah.
That's
After
me.
the previews, before the movie starts, Scorsese goes on screen, and he's like, it kind of felt like justifying to me, honestly, like justifying the runtime. You know what he's about to do, like a murderer would do.
Uh-huh, right.
He's like, hey, you know, this was a really fun project. We loved this. We shot in Oklahoma. You know, this meant a lot to me. And I'm like, why?
We want to be respectful. You know, it's a lot of Native American talking here. We want to be respectful of the
Did
tribe.
he even say that?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned
Yeah,
it.
he
Okay.
mentioned it. He's like, we wanted to be respectful. We
Yeah.
wanted to get the facts right.
And that's cool and all, but I've never seen that in a movie. And I realize it's because he has to justify it. Like, this is important cinema that we're about to experience.
Yep.
Okay? So there may be moments that, you know, are not what you would consider cinematic greatness. You know, there might be uncomfortability. You know, you're just going to have to take it because I'm Martin Scorsese. All right? And I know better than you about films.
I love this take from you right now, Colton, because
think.
as we've said before, you rarely ever go to the theater.
Yeah.
Right.
Only with you guys.
So we have seen that happens more often for movies than you think
Oh,
now.
really?
Yes.
A lot.
So
It
it
happens
is
a lot.
the reason they do that is because it is a post-pandemic thing. And there are several, when it's like a big movie, almost every time now, they will have a before the movie thing where like the director and the leading man or the leading actor will be there and be like, we're so happy you're here. We're so grateful you're sitting in the theater where you are to celebrate what we did. And that it's a...
Because movies are all streaming now. They're just grateful that you came to the theater to spend, because they make more money
They make more money from the
off of
people who actually go to the
theaters
movies.
than they do the
That
streaming.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're just like Mission Impossible. They were like, look, we know in 2 months this is going to be on Paramount Plus. So we respect you for coming to see this in theaters and helping us justify that we need to keep making these movies. Thank you.
Okay.
It's totally a justification thing, and it comes off like that.
I would say that just because it's Martin Scorsese, he's got a huge body of work. You know, he's 120 years old. He's, you know, he's a millionaire. He doesn't need anyone to come see his movie. You know,
Yeah.
So I understand that post-pandemic thing, and you know, that makes sense as a. Do they do that in shorter movies? Really?
Yeah.
They still will do that.
It's pretty common. I mean, like even like
It's kind of jarring. It's kind of fourth wall breaking.
It is. It's
I
very
was-
weird.
I was weirded out by it. Like, you know, immediately
it's a
my
pretty
emotion
common
is
thing.
broken.
It's pretty common. They come out and they do a little thank you for coming out to the cinema and blah blah blah.
But what's dope with it is sometimes they'll show like behind the scenes stuff briefly, which like they did for this movie. They showed some behind the scenes. I think the best I don't know what to call it, justification part of the movie was Mission Impossible, where they showed some behind the scenes stuff specifically about a huge car chase in Italy that they did. That was insanely difficult and they did for real. And they showed that beforehand. It's like, oh, I'm so hyped for this movie now. I'm even more hyped than I was coming in.
Yeah, like they showed them talking to the city because they had a whole thing with the city being like, we're going to be respectful of your town.
Mm-hmm.
We want you guys to enjoy the filming process too.
Yep.
This is what's going on. And they met the actors and whatnot. So it's pretty cool.
So there's definitely a right way to do this justification thing before these movies, but if you don't go to the movies often, it's extremely jarring.
Yeah, I offer that perspective of a person who doesn't really care about movies, self-admittedly. You know, I think they're a cool art form. But, you know, this one especially, too long. It's too long.
This has actually been around longer than COVID.
It's too long.
The intros.
Really?
Yeah, they have, because I used to work in a movie theater in high school.
True,
and
the true expert.
The true expert.
I used to have to do these before.
You did. You did the justification
so
on
they
the
didn't
screen.
call it justifications. They were just movie intros.
Hey, what's up? I work here.
Literally, what we would do is we'd walk out to the front of the theater and we'd have a little microphone and you'd just be like,
Yes.
"Hey,
That's
everybody." Thank
I've
you for
seen
coming out to see the movie.
I saw
We
these.
appreciate you guys. We just want to let you know from the studio and from the theater, we appreciate you for coming out to see this movie in theaters. We hope you enjoy this, blah, blah. Just giving the basic spiel.
Mhm.
But now they've moved it to doing this in person.
Well, yeah, because doing that, you're asking the random teenager who's working at the theater to be the charismatic spokesperson for their movie.
Yeah, we
what's up,
eventually
everybody?
switched over to just doing it for big movie releases. We used to have a really snobby film critic club that used to come to our theater, and they'd rent out a theater once a month,
Okay.
and they would bring out producers, directors, actors who do it, but it's not that amazing because they were like, oh, we made this movie, it's an Italian movie, so we brought out the Italian director and he's gonna just tell you guys a little bit about this movie and you can do a Q&A beforehand. And it was just, so it was really film festival almost.
Yeah,
type
that's
of
like an
movies.
event that you're describing.
Yeah, and they were the worst to work with because I was a projectionist, so I had to be the ones to run their movies or their films, run their mics, run all of that, and they were just so snobby. I was like, dude, you're in a small little theater for a bunch of 60-year-olds.
Colton?
Do you guys remember that theater?
I know the theater you're talking about that you worked at.
you all
Yeah,
grew up there.
I know what you're talking
I
about.
used to have to run the film there for those people, man. They were so snobby. I hated working with those guys.
I'm so sorry.
What? I don't know where my phone was. I put it on the arm of the chair.
Yes, as you're telling this whole story,
And I
Colton's
just
just
realized. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Colton's just looking around. Just
Yeah.
This is a tough
the
episode.
phone's
I
just
got
gone.
concerned.
The episode is great. From your
Episode
perspective,
is
it's bad.
off the rails.
Bro, you just told the whole story. You're
No,
totally
it's a good
here.
story.
Drink,
It's a good story.
drink up.
Look,
Totally here.
hey.
What's the title of this episode? Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the
We're
Flower
not going
Moon.
to talk about it at all.
Look, I
I would like to
enjoyed.
talk about it a little bit.
Tell me, what do you want to talk about, Colton?
First of all, Cure for Insomnia, longest film ever made, 85 hours. So,
Okay, I'm
It's not a real
sorry.
movie.
so in
That's
you
not
know,
real.
speaking relatively, this one not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
If you're setting that as your
Well,
bar,
what is the actual runtime for this movie? Because I thought it was just 3 hours.
I thought it was 3 hours,
3.5.
but it's 3.5.
Yeah, I think it was 3.5.
So that must take modern era, because these movies, there are old movies like that, but actual theatrical release movies, I think the longest is Endgame, right?
Before this, if I'm, well, is it?
It's either Endgame or one of the Hobbits. Has to be.
I have no idea for
I know,
modern.
we're probably wrong. There's probably somebody in the chat being like, "Oh,
Well, we are wrong.
That was 4
Colton
hours.
gave us Cure for Insomnia. We are
Yeah,
wrong.
but I'm
That's
talking
85 hours,
actual
bro.
theatrical release that made more than $1 million.
I
What do you don't know anything about Cure Insomnia? I bet
Oh
it
my
did.
goodness.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I know Endgame was over 3 hours. Oppenheimer was close. Was
Oppenheimer was
like 3 hours on the dot.
I feel like the Hobbits were long too, right? And Lord of the Rings.
I don't think they were that
they
long. If you
cross
did the
through?
extended editions, then yeah, they were all 15 hours.
That doesn't count. Those will come out afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure Endgame. I know Endgame is the longest, obviously, Marvel / Disney movie.
Yeah.
Ever.
Reading the book, I was already hyped for this movie before reading it. Reading it though, I was like, it could be 15 hours. I'm gonna sit through this whole thing. I'm so excited now.
No shot.
But I was thinking during the movie, I'm like, there's no way the other guys in our group are enjoying this as much as I am.
Nope.
I don't. Right? Am I? Yeah, I'm correct.
not wrong.
100%.
Like Colton, you see 2 movies a year so far with us.
Yeah. Colton is just our John Wick expert, which is funny because one of the only movies he's come with us to see is a 3-hour movie.
All right. Right.
That didn't feel like 3 hours. That's
There's
the
a difference.
That's a big difference.
I just.
Oh.
There we go. Perfect.
I'm getting
Don't-
information.
Beer me up.
Hold on.
Beer it up.
Hold on.
Thank you, Gustavo.
Thank you, Gustavo.
He's cool. Don't worry.
We got
It's off the rails.
Yeah, don't worry. We got
I'm gonna go
Gustavo
yell at
helping.
him. I swear. Next time he does that, I'm yelling at him.
Leave a comment of what you
on the-
think
put it
about
on the
Gustavo. He cost a
Put it
lot
on
of
the
money
floor.
to keep. Gustavo costs a lot of money to keep with us, so let us know what you think about him in the comments after you click the like and subscribe button.
Bro!
this.
Cut this out.
How many are you in right now? How many are you up to?
Okay, this is gonna sound really weak for a lot of people, but I
Yep.
think this is 4.
Okay.
Now, for me,
For a man who hasn't drunk in a while.
I don't drink very often.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I do, I'm the kind of guy that likes to just, if I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna drink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have a bunch of beers, or I like liquor more so than beer.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the last time that I've actually drinking to get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
It's been probably
since your birthday that we all went to Vegas,
that's probably the last time.
and I died during.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, so this is definitely.
He lost $50
this is
at
like
that
the
bar.
cheapest- This is like the cheapest beer of all time too, and for some reason, 4 deep is just enough to get me going. So
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing unmanly about that. I mean,
No.
you are one of the straight dudes, so
Mm-hmm.
people have different tolerances.
Mhm.
you
Look,
know?
my tolerance is very low. All right, I prefer to just have a couple shots and just let the night ride. But this is something else.
Look,
too.
you talk about your low tolerance. I don't drink at
That's
all.
true, yeah.
I don't drink at all. I don't do any prep for when it's time to drink.
Cheers.
I'm not drinking that.
Well, cheers to that, though.
Yes. And then when it takes one drink for me to just get destroyed, as we saw in Vegas 2 years ago.
Oh, that was something.
Cheers, brother.
Okay, very good.
Cheers.
Yeah, where I just
I'm drinking water, Red Bulls.
yeah.
I have a higher tolerance for no reason.
That was
Why
part
do
of
you
the
drink more
bet.
often?
I think
I
that,
don't though. I really don't.
You don't?
No.
He only drinks with us.
Yeah. No. I
Every
have,
now and again, he may have a sip at home, but he really.
I
only
really
drinks
don't.
with us.
I don't have beer at home ever. You know, I only drink ever when it's in a social setting and people are drinking beers. You know, it's just a God-given talent.
yeah, talent. Well, yeah.
See,
Not
that's how
really.
I am too. I'm a social drinker,
Mm-hmm.
and Krista used to hate me for that because she used to work at Bevmo,
Mm-hmm.
so she would bring home like random beers to try out, really nice crafty beers and whatnot, and I would never drink them with her because the thought of just drinking one beer just sounds no fun.
Mm-hmm.
Carissa, I will drink craft beers with you.
Well, it's too late. She doesn't work.
That's
there
a
anymore.
fact.
All right.
But you can drink with her. I mean, that's fine. Look, I'm not the kind of guy that just likes to have like a beer and be chilling. If I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna
I
drink
enjoy it.
because it's gonna make me sick.
I enjoy it. I don't care for getting drunk, to be honest. I like beer.
I can't. I just
Okay.
I have to
so-
do like mental prep.
Killers of the
Yeah.
Flower.
Killers.
Yeah, no,
we saw a
so-
movie. We saw
Yeah,
a movie.
What there? This is a.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and just get into that.
This movie is 3 days long. So where do we want to start, really? Like, you know, I would love to have a conversation with you guys about your thoughts on the movie because I think it's an important release as a Martin Scorsese film. Maybe
Yes.
the last one,
Mhm.
to be honest.
He's got another
It's
one
not-
coming
it's
out
not
next
the
year.
Last one. There's already confirmed.
All right, never mind.
Another movie. Another movie is coming out, I believe, next year.
Yes, but he may pass away before it.
and it's
Who knows?
and it's by the same author who wrote this book. So there's another movie coming out from the same author that he's doing with Leo as well. I think that one it takes place on like a submarine though.
I have no
All right,
idea.
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
So
Follow
where do
that
we start
story.
here?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
So I do have thoughts.
Please.
The book, again, I'm that guy. The book is a whodunit,
Yes.
and I loved that way more than I liked this movie. I understand that it's easier, it's more appealing to make it known right away that hey, Robert De Niro and Ernest Burkhart, or Leonardo DiCaprio, they are running the killings. This is all them, and the audience just knows and they're in on it now because then you get to do stuff behind the scenes. The whodunit part though makes Tom, the FBI agent, the main character, and the amount of stuff he still went through to uncover everything was way more interesting.
Tom, who didn't show up until 3 hours into the film.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna show up way earlier
Yeah.
because the bombing that happens that Bill and Rita Smith die during, or happens to them, that's like the third killing that happens.
Yeah.
That it's known about, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Anna, Charles, and then them. It's very quick. And there's a whole thing that happens where I'm shocked that they didn't have this part, where there's stuff behind the scenes going on. Where Colton, I don't know if you remember the scene where they send a man to DC first,
Yes.
McBridle. The movie,
Assassinated, right?
yeah, the movie doesn't clarify what happened to him. He got killed. Who killed him?
Oh, that's true.
No one knows.
I just assumed it was, someone who, knowing the knowledge that I know now, I assumed it's, Hale.
Yeah. But during the trial and everything, Hale and their entire team is never tied to that killing. As well as when Bill is killed with Rita, he doesn't die immediately. And they show that for a moment. He actually goes to the hospital. And also, since he doesn't die right away, the entire plan about stealing their head rights for their oil land hinged on both of them dying immediately in the blast.
Right. I had that thought too. Like, he's not dead. He could give it up.
Yeah. So Rita dies, so it gets inherited to him immediately. And because of that, after he dies, it'll be inherited by God knows who. But there was another man that's not in the movie at all. I don't remember his name. I think it was like Vaughn. And he is working alongside Bill, who's doing his own investigation stuff. Bill is in the hospital after the bombing, is telling everyone, I'm only going to talk to one person. Tell Vaughn to come in. We'll call him that. He comes in, apparently tells Vaughn where all the evidence is and who's killing everywhere and what's actually going on. Like, he figured it out. And then when Vaughn goes to get it and then expose everything, because they mention that Bill's going to expose everything in the movie, Vaughn ends up on a train with the evidence and suddenly never appears again. That is an entire storyline that happens behind the scenes in this. And so there is so much going on behind everything that there's other people. It's Hale and Ernest Burkhart, Robert De Niro and DiCaprio. They are the ones who got caught is the main thing. What's basically understood about the situation is pretty much everyone in the town was actively killing the Native Americans. And the death rate that they had there, the average death rate in like a rich society in America at the time was like 8 out of every 1,000 people might die in the year or something like that. Meanwhile, in the Osage County, it was 19.5 out of 1,000 just happened to be dying. Yeah. So I wish that we got more of that. Go ahead. Thank you. I wish we had more of that.
I don't. You know why? Because
Why?
the movie was 3.5 hours. That's the confusing thing about this movie is it's 3.5 hours and there was so much missing. Like, even I know, not having read the book, there was a lot that was glossed over. Mm-hmm. Like, just, I don't understand how this movie happened. To be completely honest. Like, Martin Scorsese's a legend, of course, his catalog speaks for itself. And then this movie happens, and I'm sitting in the theater. I was going in optimistically. Even though I don't care.
Scorsese. It's going to be good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, this is going to be 3.5 hours. But you know what? It's going to be cool. Like, it's going to be sick. There's going to be, cool interactions with, FBI guys and whatever's happening in the town. And that was not the case. Yeah. From the very beginning of the movie, there was a very long scene between Leonardo and De Niro. Just chatting, just small talk. Yeah. And some of it was substantive, but a lot of it was just filler to me. Like, I get that it helps for the pacing of the movie, but the scene just felt too long. Yeah. And there were a lot of scenes like that where it's just like, what are you accomplishing with this scene? Like, you're it's very human, yes, but for the movie, the cinema experience, it's not giving me anything.
Well, I think the reason they did that, it feels like they were hinging the movie specifically on DiCaprio and De Niro, right? And so in the book, their interactions together and how Ernest got roped into this is not discussed. No one knows. They just know that Ernest was super involved with his uncle. That's it. So, and the majority of this movie ended up being the dramatized portion of what potentially happened behind the scenes. Yep. And like, Martin Scorsese very clearly loves these two actors as well and wants to use them.
So do I.
So, and I love that too. So he made sure to use them. I don't think they focused in on the right things with this story. The personally, I think the FBI needed to be more of a main part of the story.
They weren't there till 3 hours
Dude,
in.
it took forever. We're like 2 hours into the movie, and the FBI.
frustrating.
The whole book is mainly about that. This was the crime that like got the FBI to
That's
even
what you
become a
guys
thing.
told me.
That's what the title of the book is.
I know.
The title of the book
and
is
so they're
literally
not
like-
even in it.
The book
3
is
hours
literally
in,
like
where's
the
the
front,
FBI?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the front page is literally Killers of the Flower Moon, the case that started the FBI.
Yeah.
They described that right off the bat.
And that is the coolest part about this, because this was the first time
And that's how I described it to everybody I know. I was like, it's the start of the FBI.
bro, so Tom White is awesome, first off.
Yes.
Then the
Scary.
whole situation with Kelsey Morrison, I think is his name. He was the he's the guy who actually shot Anna.
Oh, yeah.
That guy who testifies in court at the end. He gets brought in, like, as they're figuring out the case, they realize he's involved somehow, bring him in for a deal and turn him into an undercover agent for them, who's then gets integrated back into Hale society. And then they realize they have a mole. It's this guy. And
That sounds sick.
that's awesome.
That sounds awesome.
The most messed up thing is that Blackie Thompson, that's his real name.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Okay, well, that's his real name. The FBI brought him in and managed to have him testify at the end about that Ernest tried to get him to kill these people and tried to get him to do the bombing originally.
Right.
The fact that Tom White brought Blackie Thompson down without
I'm like FBI agent.
without permission to do that. And Blackie Thompson was like a known killer, and there was a potential for him to like vanish and try to run off.
Yep.
Or become aggressive and potentially kill someone during the transfer. So bringing him down and actually getting him to testify was a huge risk on the FBI's side. And that was just not in this at all.
And they established that in like chapter 1. That's one of the few things I remember from that book, is that Blackie Thompson is a bad guy.
Yes, they're like, hey, by the way, there's this insanely bad outlaw out there named Blackie Thompson, the worst dude around.
And he probably killed Anna. Like right off the bat, that's the first thing they do. They're like, oh, there's this
There's a
person,
huge
and there's this
assumption
person.
about him.
But Blackie Thompson probably did it, considering that he's a known outlaw.
So I just wish
And they don't outlaw Leonardo DiCaprio's character as an outlaw initially either.
No.
He's more so just like, oh, he's just married to the girl.
Well, that's why I really think this movie needed to be more about the FBI and not expose who is behind the killings immediately. They exposed it right out of the gate with this movie, and the book was incredible because I had no idea who was behind it. And then when the pieces come together and you realize it's Hale and Ernest, you can't believe it because that's Ernest's family and he's killing all of them. And he's implicit in all of this going on, to the point where they bombed his sister-in-law and brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And that's real. It
And
was horrifying.
And as he's doing that, you're not even understanding the weight of a man who's putting hits out on his own family.
Yeah.
You know,
Messed up.
people, he knows what the consequences are, but he's still doing it. You know, and there's the justification that he's under the thumb of King, right? But it's just not conveyed in the film, that emotion.
Yeah.
There's only one moment after the bombing happens when he's really shaken up that you see that, he's realizing the consequences.
Yeah.
And the next day he's good.
Yeah.
He's just back to, lying about it like, oh, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I have no clue.
It kind of comes off as if the love is real for his wife,
Mm-hmm.
but
Of course
the love
it
for her
is.
money is even realer.
It's not even the money. It's not the money. I think the real factors at play is he does love this woman, his wife, but he's terrified of King and what will happen to him. And that scene, when he says he's going to testify, right, with the FBI, but then when King, he sees him again in court for the first time in 2 weeks, he sees that his lawyer puts him under pressure, he immediately folds and says, I'm not testifying anymore.
They did fabricate a whole lie about that they were being electrocuted by the FBI and everything in real life.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser, the GOAT. Bro.
They did have that. That was real, and he did end up testifying that, and then turned around and was like, I'm sorry, I lied. No, I did kill those people.
And why? Because of the fear of what King would do. That's the power that these mob bosses have always had. You know, the influence. There's nothing I can do. I could testify, but I still won't be able to see my family. Like, they're gonna kill me if I do this. You know, they're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill my entire family.
Yeah.
So you didn't really get to see that.
Yeah.
You know, you're totally right, and Brandon was right as well. It should have been a whodunit. You know, the first thing you learn in writing classes and stuff is, you know, stories typically need to have a rise, they need to have a climax, you know, a fall, and a conclusion. This movie did not have that.
No.
I felt like
There was no climax.
There was 2.5 hours of filler.
Yeah.
Of buildup. Like, it was just everything in between. There was the even the music, the score going behind a lot of the dialogue.
What score?
There was like a
Very
subtle,
weird score.
What score?
There was like a very subtle music happening behind maybe like the middle hour and a half of the movie.
Yeah.
That in those scenes in most movies feel like, oh, it's a transition scene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're going from one big event to the other, and there's just like a subtle music in the back, and we're having a little dialogue.
Yeah.
But it was expanded for like an hour and a half, and I was just like, oh my goodness, when are we gonna get to the plot?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were getting too artsy with it. Like, it would be a scene of normal dialogue, you know, between two human beings, and then real quick, someone gets shot.
Yep.
And then we're back to you know, dialogue. And the contrast between those two scenes is cool, but it does nothing for the plot.
Yeah.
Like, what? It's just, I mean, I don't know. I was disappointed. I
didn't know if you guys, watching it, and like, in the background, I'm like, oh yeah, I know who did that. I know who did that. And I'm putting the pieces together. And I was unsure if you guys were going to if they fully communicated to guys who did not know the full story. If you guys
I
knew.
got it.
Okay.
I was able to follow it.
Okay.
I understood what the plot was. I think I was mostly confused on the fact that it was 3 hours long. because there was times where I was telling Colton, like, I don't get what's going on. Because isn't he the bad guy? And we know that he's the bad guy. So what is all this filler?
Yeah.
Because everything just felt like filler in the middle. I don't know. I was just confused, but also the theater was so crazy that I just could not follow.
You know, all of this comes back around to a constant theme that we've had with movies recently. Stop making 3-hour movies.
Yes, I've been
Stop
saying this since day
making
one.
3-hour movies.
All right.
You have to earn that.
Yep.
And being a very big director does not give you that earning.
100%.
The story does.
John Wick earned it. That movie could have been 4 hours long. I wouldn't have noticed.
Marvel earned it with a 3.5-hour Endgame. I know you're not super into that, but the majority of people were fine with it.
One time.
See, I
Same.
think Scorsese has earned his 3-hour title slots.
Nope.
I just don't think that this story needed to be 3 hours.
I mean, you're right. Wolf of Wall Street was 3 hours.
Yeah, but that movie just progressively
Feel like 3
gets.
hours?
Yeah, that movie slaps.
But that doesn't feel like 3 hours.
No.
That's
The
what I'm saying. It
movie
doesn't
is
feel like 3 hours.
It does.
So when I saw that this movie was 3 hours, I knew that the book was boring, but I was excited to watch the movie because it's Scorsese, and he has my respect for a 3-hour movie. I don't think that the story needed to be 3 hours, and I think that's evident in the fact that they wrap up the entire movie in 5 minutes at the very end.
Yeah.
In a little just skit.
Yep.
Like
That's a great point.
Like that to me, that made me mad. It made me mad that we wrapped up the most important parts of the entire film in 5 minutes in a little skit, because I was like, what was the point of the 3.5 hours I just sat here for?
Yeah.
That's a great
for you
point.
to wrap this up in 5 little minutes of just a comedy skit, and it was the
Dude.
best part of the movie.
This is a huge point.
You brought it up at the end of the movie. Like, this would have been a better, because what it was is a true crime retelling, you know, of kind of the events that happened.
Yeah, they were
was an
doing a radio.
old-timey-
They were doing a radio play of it.
old timey radio,
like a true crime podcast.
And
And Ricky was like, the whole movie could have been this, and I couldn't agree more. That was the best take I've ever heard.
even if that's how they shot it, it would have felt more so like a Wes Anderson film if they had shot it that way, of like, and then we find out that he's been drugging or poisoning his wife, and then we cut back to the movie.
Yeah.
That would have been way more interesting to me if they had shot it that way. And even at the beginning, they go into title cards of the movie, and I thought
And then,
immediately,
they just drop it.
yeah, I thought immediately, oh, cool, he's gonna tell the story through title cards like this with little snippets.
Yeah.
And I thought that'd be interesting, and that's a Scorsese thing to do. I mean, you guys have seen Wolf of Wall Street, you know that's how he does it.
It's a good movie.
But this movie just felt like I was in so much filler.
Yeah.
What's frustrating about the end, the whole true crime podcast thing of wrapping the story up, is that that could have started at any moment in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So why did he start it there? Well, because the movie's 3.5 hours long.
We have to finish it.
Yeah,
Maybe
we have to
4.5
finish the
hours
movie.
if I do this ending.
Yeah, we can't end it in the same, dramatic style that we've been shooting the rest of the movie in. So we're gonna do the true crimes,
We'll do a comedy portion.
which was
to end
cool.
it.
I like
It was dope.
and I've actually been watching some true crime lately.
Ah,
Nice.
I
fun,
agree.
huh?
It would have been great.
Yeah, I think I would have loved to have seen the movie shot that way, because once he introduced it, I was like, huh, this is the most interesting part of the whole movie. This is fun.
I think there needed to be some kind of different framing around the movie in general to what's the word? To just push the plot forward a bit more, where we could have, what you said, of continue going back to this radio play that we're doing in order to just move to the next portion instead of all the filler to get there.
And I think it
Because
would've
straight up,
worked.
the story is it's not insane action or debauchery like previous films of his. It's the random shots of a guy is walking and then a gun and we just shoot him in the back of the head, and that's the action. That's it. Because that's what the situation
And
really
that's
was.
fine.
Mhm.
I thought the story was actually pretty fun. Not fun is the wrong word.
Oh, it was so fun. I love this
terrible
story.
murder.
This
You
true
know,
terrible
of
event.
indigenous people.
It's a very interesting real story that happened.
Yeah,
That
it
was-
was awesome. The cinematic experience of it was not there. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because I didn't mind that this movie was 3 hours long. I really did.
That's insane.
Like going into
Here comes the bad take machine.
No. Going into it, I didn't mind that it was 3 hours long because it's Scorsese.
Mm-hmm.
After watching it, I realized, wow, this did not need to be 3 hours long. And
Yeah.
if this was 3 hours long, why did we not just include that, like that last 5 minutes? If that was included into the movie, that'd have been fine, because that'd have been the last half hour
Yep.
of wrapping up the story.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been fine with that. But you're telling me that we put 3 hours into this, and you can't, you have to fit in 2 more hours to
Yeah.
wrap it up, so you're gonna summon it into 5 minutes? That made me mad. That felt like disrespectful almost of my time.
Well, with that note, should we get the banana meter in here?
Before we do, I want
Okay.
to say one more thing.
Say it.
The biggest sin of this movie, and I could talk about it for days.
A sin.
Yes.
Wow.
Sin.
The biggest sin
A
Killers of
sin.
the
is
Flower
that-
Moon.
it was just so boring. It was so boring. I mean, Ricky was checking his watch,
I was typing messages to Colton the whole time.
Bro, yeah, we were just texting, honestly.
I will
mean,
admit I checked my watch.
yeah, because you can't help it. It was so boring. A movie like John Wick.
We're always gonna go back to it.
I'm sorry.
We're always gonna
It's
go
a
back
good
to.
movie. It's the only thing I have in my frame of reference.
It's a perfect movie.
Yeah, for
You
you,
know?
that makes sense, because John Wick is a totally different category, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But like that makes sense.
Yeah,
You
it's
come
not
out
even
a
the
few
fact that
times
it's
a year.
action. I'd be cool watching a dramatic movie. I like, all sorts of movies if they're done right.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was just so boring.
Mhm.
It did not grab my attention. The scenes, it just felt like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
That's
because
why I love your opinion, because you come out to the theaters 3, maybe 4 times a year to a movie.
Not even 1 or 2.
dude, we also had so many scenes of Molly just in bed, just dying, and it's like,
Yep.
I understand the situation. We don't need to keep coming back to that over and over again, because at some point she's gonna get better or she's gonna die, and we need to move towards one of those options.
At one point, Ricky thought she died.
I really did.
And then she's in the next scene. Ricky's like, bro, she just died. And then she's in the next scene.
I
Never
texted
mind.
him. And I said, straight up.
Yeah, bro, I have the text. I can show it.
I'm not the kind of guy, like, I get it. And during a movie, we're normally like whispering here and there.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Like, we're respectful. We know if there's people next to us, we don't really talk a whole
Yeah,
lot.
we're good about
Like,
it.
the theater's full, so normally we wouldn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
But once these guys started just yelling and everybody in the theater just started just talking around, and then high schoolers snuck in halfway through the movie and sat in the front row and talked and texted the whole time,
And then left.
I was like, you know what? The respect of cinema has left the room. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna just be on my phone.
I'm glad you were able to protect your character like that.
Well,
You're a good guy.
I respect the theater enough to
You're very
not be on
respectful.
my phone
You're
a
respectful.
whole lot, with the exception of me drafting my fantasy football team.
No,
That
that's
was-
understandable.
That
That's
was a
understandable.
different. Look, the guys, the true boys out there, they know you
No, I
always
understand.
draft no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I usually have a good boundary of respect for that. But this movie, it wasn't even the movie. It was just a theater experience as a whole that I just was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna get on my phone. I'm gonna text Colton. I'm gonna watch the baseball game. I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm not invested, and I feel that sucks to me because I love Martin Scorsese and I really wanted to watch this movie.
Yeah.
So my rating will have a big asterisk next to it. I want to watch this movie again on my own in my own time and see if I enjoy it more.
But you're gonna wait for it
No,
to
you
stream.
don't.
Well, I know I will.
There's no way you want to watch.
I promise
this
you,
movie
I
again.
will watch it again. I love.
Oh, we've seen how your promises work out
Yeah,
before.
but this one I'm always on. I've rewatched a lot of the movies we've rated.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm pretty good at
one's
rewatching
different, though.
movies.
Is this the longest movie you guys have
Although
seen?
I might not rewatch it only because it's going to go to Apple TV and I don't have that.
To what you said, I don't technically know because last week we watched The Continental, which was 4.5 hours,
wouldn't
and that was more boring than this, bro. It was dude.
That was brutal.
I
It
get
was hard.
I
to,
get it, but I wouldn't count it.
Okay, but as
I
a
get that it's bad,
as
but
a
it's just
movie, yes, this was the longest one.
This felt longer than Oppenheimer. I don't know if that's facts, but it did feel way longer.
It probably was. Right?
I think this one does.
I mean, the
did
movie,
pass Oppenheimer, but they were close.
when I'm
check.
in the theater at 1:40 p.m. and I don't leave it till 5:20, I was just
That was
like,
insane.
oh
Bro,
my
I
God.
couldn't
Insane.
believe my clock. Because they
Insane.
said 3 hours. I was like, all right,
I thought it was 3 hours.
4:30. Not the
No.
no.
That was insane. We should wrap. We should get the banana meter in here.
I'm interested to rewatch this again.
Okay.
I probably
That is insane
will.
to me.
I will
that is
rewatch
so
it
I'm,
again
look,
to give it
I'm
its
looking
proper
forward to you
respect.
trying to watch it again.
Yeah, I want to again
Bro.
to give it its full respect because
Full
the
respect,
theater
he says.
just
The movie
took me
sucked.
so out of
It
it.
was so bad. Bro, I don't need you don't need to give it your respect, bro.
Let's give it the banana meter rating. Let's
All
just
right,
bring
all
it
right.
the
Look, the
banana-
minions are right there, and they're holding the banana meter. They're like, "Can we bring it in?"
This is your first episode. I'm so sorry for
How do you do
everything
this
that's been
on-
going on.
how-
Let's
how
just
do
go
you do
ahead
this
and
on
get the
video?
minions
No,
in here.
dude,
This wasn't a video. This wasn't a video.
Yeah, just put it down. Just put it in. It's all good.
Wow, look at them, huh? They're just over there, just doing their thing.
They're doing their
Bunch of
thing like
minions. Yeah,
usual.
You see them over there in the
They're-
closet.
they're
They
right
just came
there.
out the
Oh, they're
closet.
off camera.
Yeah, they
Wow,
can't.
I see.
Well,
They
they're
can't
super
come in.
camera shy.
They can't come into the light because they'll melt too.
And they're
Oh.
camera shy. They don't like the camera.
They just
don't want to be
place the
seen. Yeah,
banana
go ahead,
meter
Put it
down.
down right there. Give it to Colton. Give it to Colton. Go ahead, take that. Yeah, Colton, hold that. Just put that down. Just put that down.
Just keep your. It'll melt if
hold it
they
out
see
of
it. So just
frame.
if you could
Yeah.
keep doing that this whole time, that'd be great. Thank you.
It's just out of frame.
No.
That one just shot.
All right,
the
if
other
you guys are
one.
gonna shoot each other, go in the
Right.
other room.
Good.
Why are
Yep.
they shooting each other?
They do it over. They do everything like in the frame of the closet there. That's where they live now.
Let's start this off. Banana rating.
Doesn't answer my
I'm gonna
question.
give it. I'm gonna start it
Okay.
because I got a big asterisk next to my rating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just slapping it at a 50.
That's hilarious.
This is rough for me because I was not invested in the movie from the get go
Mm-hmm.
because of everything that happened in the theater took me out of it.
Yes.
Which I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that as my official review.
Well, you can't put that in the review then. You have to
But
look
that's
at
the
it
thing is
objectively.
I couldn't focus on the movie at hand.
I'm gonna set down the banana
I'm
meter.
gonna just throw it at a 50.
I appreciate you trying.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Please go watch the movie because some people are
You
gonna
both have.
really love this movie. It's a Scorsese. People,
Really?
Some people are so blind to just admitting that a movie is bad, even though it's a Scorsese, that they'll just be like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen in my life." Those people are crazy to me. To me, I'll rewatch it,
Yeah, I mean, there are people who say Suicide Squad was good, so.
but that's not a Scorsese. It doesn't count.
Oh, you like Suicide Squad?
No, I'm saying
Because that was my point. Is Suicide Squad was an objective?
this is the
terrible
same
movie.
thing with.
Yeah.
Look, I think the same issue happened with Oppenheimer. I think most people didn't get the movie, but because they saw the name Christopher Nolan, that we have to immediately be like, "This was the greatest movie I've ever seen." Otherwise, I'm going to be perceived.
We
as
didn't
dumb.
understand his genius.
Yeah,
is what
so
people say.
I don't want to sound dumb, so I'm just gonna say that this was a great movie. That's the same thing
That
with
happens.
Scorsese. People are the same way with Scorsese. They go, I didn't understand it, but I'm not gonna admit that. It was a great movie. It was a masterpiece.
Those people are
cinema.
stupid, bro.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna land it at like a 50. I've had a lot of drinks.
You have, yeah.
I was very out of the movie very
Stop.
quickly, and that's not the movie's fault.
It's okay.
It's the people in the audience's fault. I'll rewatch it again and I'll give it a real rating, but that's where I'm gonna leave it. Thank you.
When
very
you do
much.
finally
Have a
watch
great
it,
day.
we'll bring it up in a new episode. We'll bring it up. All right, yeah. Keep
All
sipping
right.
away. Colton, you want to go or me?
All right. Hold on.
Are you okay? You
You
okay?
guys are being rude here.
Okay,
Let's
go ahead. Yeah, get in. Get in here.
They
That's
keep
okay.
touching me.
Yeah, they
I don't
keep
like
when they
that.
come out, it becomes a lot. All right, go ahead.
All right. Can you zoom in? There's just a weird empty. It's fine.
It's fine.
My reading?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to hear yours actually.
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
All right.
Couple of boys.
No, this is perfectly fine. This was the other option for today. So
We were gonna do this episode in David's bed. And I think
that was another option.
I think the only reason we didn't do it was because it would have been a lot of work to
would have
veto
been
the mics.
Yeah. No, it wasn't because Colton vetoed it.
Veto.
We wouldn't have cared if you vetoed it or not.
I'm
We
already
would've
on.
done it.
I don't like this already, and I initiated it.
All right. So for me, I was able to give this a lot of benefit of the doubt because I read the book. I am shocked I actually read it, that I was forced into that situation, and the book turned out to be wonderful.
Sorry. Continue.
Good thoughts. So I was super hyped. I was very
Got off the rails for me.
Shut up. I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I really do think that they missed the mark by focusing too much on the killers instead of the FBI. I think that was a huge element of this movie that just sucked. And even then, yeah, Scorsese's great. Leonardo DiCaprio is great. Robert De Niro is great. Doesn't hold this movie together.
Legends.
They're legends, and I love all of them. I'm not going to tell anyone to go see this movie. It's too long. I was able to sit through it despite our horrible theater experience and everything today. I was still able to focus and be hyped because I actually read the book. No one else has. So for that, I give this a 30.
Wow.
Like I enjoyed it. I enjoy the story. I think they executed it bad. Knowing what the story actually is. I have too much info. That's the problem. I have too much info.
And that's funny because you're going to be one of the rare cases of people who have read the book and watched these movies.
Here's the thing. I liked it. I want to make that clear. The movie is not good.
You like the book?
I like the book.
Okay.
I like the
you
story.
Can't say I'm going to make that clear and then be completely vague.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I enjoyed it because I enjoy seeing the acting. The filler, when we see two good actors talking with each other, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Is that a good movie? No, I don't think so. And for the common consumer, like Colton here, who goes once a year to the
put me
theater.
a notch above the common consumer.
Because you've seen two movies this year now.
You're below
Yeah.
common consumer. Mm-hmm. I would consider common consumer goes out to see the big movies.
Well, not to derail you, but I have a little bit more of an understanding of the artistic, portion of it, because I am
a creative man.
Yeah, creative, as opposed to somebody who is just going to see a movie. I do see it from the perspective as someone who has a friend who's an actor, who's seen stuff like that and appreciates the craft, right? So that's why it would put me a notch above the average viewer. Not to derail you.
No, that's okay. I basically said everything I wanted to
Done
say.
a whole
Okay.
episode like this.
This is great.
This is nice.
No, I don't like this at all.
Well, you're the one who initiated.
I
I
gotta sound
really
like
hate
this.
this.
Well, give us your.
It was
give
a
us
bit
your,
because the stupid minions were touching me.
They
I
were.
didn't like it.
Yeah, they were.
trying to
That's
tug
what
at my
happens.
Shorts and stuff.
Yeah, well, now you're here. What about you?
Your review.
My review?
Super fan movie expert.
On the banana?
Banana.
How many bananas?
0 to 100. 100 being the best, 0 being the worst.
I knew I was coming on the podcast, but I didn't prepare a banana score.
You didn't have to prepare. We usually give it spur of the moment.
Okay, off the top of my head. Oh man, I really hate. Oh gosh.
You got this.
I would say probably in the 20 to 30 range.
Okay.
The movie was just so offensively boring. And here's the thing, if it was an offensively boring movie that was an hour and a half long, it wouldn't be that severe for me, Like, I wouldn't be that offended. But the fact that it's 3.5 hour movie of just nothing happening. Like the exciting stuff is happening in the background, it, and they might do a quick scene of it, and then it goes immediately back to this stupid family that I don't care about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's cool. But also, like, the FBI has showed up. What are they doing? Oh, we get one scene of them having a meeting.
That's it.
Thanks, Scorsese. 20 to 30.
I will give a reminder. The FBI is the most important part of the entire story, and we looked over them the entire
FBI
time.
famously, very interesting stuff going on there. We're not going to talk
We
about
didn't talk about it at all.
Historically on the podcast, your ratings are the most vague ratings of all time.
Yeah, because I don't do this, bro.
Yeah,
You
20
always end up giving them like
a range. Yeah.
two different numbers.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest
Look,
with
20
it.
to 30 is
I
still
think
that's
at one
still
point you were
identifying.
like, this movie is a 30, but it's also a 90.
Yeah, that
Like
would probably
you're
be,
so off.
that would be
Well-
for the vampire movie.
yeah. It
The
was.
Nicolas Cage vampire
Yes,
movie.
uh-huh.
And I stand by that rating, okay? Not a good movie.
I forgot we saw that.
Hilarious experience.
See,
all
To
right?
be fair, Ricky, that's kind of the rating I just gave in a way.
I get it.
That I enjoyed it, but the movie's bad.
See, the 3 hours for me is not the problem. It's the movie itself. I like 3 hours.
if it was 3 hours of good, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's offensive
Yeah,
that
like,
it
I
was
love-
that long and that bad.
like Wolf of Wall Street's my favorite movie. Love it. 3
Yeah.
hours long.
and it does
Irishman?
not feel like that.
You guys
Nope.
ever seen The Irishman?
No, I've heard it's just too
Great
long.
movie.
no, with
Over 3 hours.
underage Robert De Niro, like they unaged his face
Yeah.
or
They
whatever.
CGI him a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
pretty
hilarious.
funny.
But that movie is great because it's The Sopranos, but movie form. It's just the same thing. It's awesome.
Have you
my
put
God.
The Sopranos on the banana meter?
Dude, if
We have
the,
not.
The Sopranos is not on the banana meter. It's its own scale. That show is perfect. I will stand by
on
it. I love
the
The
baked
Sopranos.
ziti.
Baked ziti
The
meter.
baked CD meter. It's
Oh my
The
God.
Sopranos.
Carmela Soprano meter.
Look, The Sopranos is in a league of its own. Okay, people who don't like the show just don't understand it. That's not a hot take. That's just a very base take. If you don't understand The Sopranos, it's not for you. You just don't understand.
People who don't like the show probably wouldn't watch it. I feel like.
It's so innovative. There are so many things that movies and shows do nowadays that
How
The
did we
Sopranos
get
did
here?
years
We're gonna
ago.
get so.
I don't know how we
sidetracked.
got
Love
here.
The
I could talk
Sopranos.
about the Sopranos.
I know you guys
That's
could.
its own
I know
episode.
you guys.
That's its own episode. You will hate the show and love it at the exact same time, and it will make you mad, and you'll end it and be like, God, I hate that show, but it was so perfect.
With that, thank you so much for listening to Straight Dude Date Night. We do hope you enjoy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Colton Wood, for coming on the show. Super fan movie expert. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, Ricky Rivera, for starting a bet that he could not complete, forcing me into reading a book and him into drinking.
Hey, if there's one thing I do in this world, it's
Yep. Good note. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Tell
I'm
a friend.
subscribed.
He is subscribed. He just subscribed today.
Yep, just tonight.
He's number 170. So thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mr. Wood.
You got it.
Tell a friend. If you listen to the audio, be sure to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's always super helpful. And like our stuff on social media and follow us there.
dying.
And Ricky is dying.
Had 3 beers.
So thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. We love you. Bye-bye.